The U.S. taking action against the Maduro regime in Venezuela, imposing sanctions on the state-owned oil company. Joining us now, Morgan Ortagus, Fox News contributor and former State Department press officer. Morgan, good morning to you, almost afternoon.
Good morning.
Is this enough pressure on Venezuela? Is this going to bring about the needed change?
I think it's a part of a comprehensive strategy to try to continue to put pressure on Maduro to step down. I mean, that's really what we're looking for at this point. You're talking about billions of dollars yesterday in the sanctions that the Treasury and John Bolton announced. You're talking about billions of dollars in assets that have been frozen. The next step would be for the Americans to try to get the Europeans on board to prevent potentially any sort of financial transactions in the formal financial sector via American and European banks. Why is that important? Well, that's crucially important because when we look back at what happened during the end of the Bush administration, the first term of the Obama administration, as it relates to Iran, with those sanctions, U.S. and European banks paid millions and millions of dollars in fines for violating those sanctions. So the banking community, the financial sector, takes these sort of sanctions incredibly seriously. So there's not one failed swoop action that's going to get Maduro to step down. But it is, I think, a part of a very strong and smart, comprehensive strategy that this administration is not pursuing. I mean, I think it's important to note here, this is not regime change. This is not a coup. This is something that was started by the Venezuelan people, by the National Assembly. This is a part of their constitution that they are legally following here. And a number of countries in the region, including the United States, are supporting the right of the Venezuelan people for democracy to thrive.
Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin obviously made this announcement yesterday. He joined Maria Bartiromo on Fox Business this morning and made it very clear the objective here. Listen.
There's no question that what we're trying to do is to cut off the money to the regime that should not be in power and make sure that President Guaido has access to funds and has access to the assets of the country, and to make sure we protect these assets for the people of Venezuela. If Venezuela wants to continue to sell us oil, which we'd like to buy, that money will go into blocked accounts and will be protected for the people of Venezuela.
Venezuela has the largest oil reserves in the world. The United States is a major destination for that Venezuelan oil.
It's true.
Based on everything we just heard there, Morgan, how does this affect us?
Well, as you can see, the price of oil has bumped up. But if you look holistically at what's going on in the oil markets, and you know this, Sandra, better than anyone, given your days as a business reporter, we're seeing, of course, a slowdown in China, slowdown in demand. And I think most oil analysts are signaling that there's enough supply on the market that we're not going to see a huge increase there. But I think, again, it's important to note here, what do China and what do Russia do? At this moment, the Chinese are holding a ton of the Venezuelan debt. They clearly have a vested financial interest here. And so for me, the big question is, do the Maduro financial backers, do they try to offset these sanctions to try to protect him and to keep him in power? And what's crucially important over this next week is, what do the Europeans do? I was incredibly disappointed to see the Europeans call for more elections and instead of calling for Maduro just to completely step down and recognizing the constitutionally approved interim president, Guaido. And for the Europeans not to take that step to join the Americans is frustrating when you see the reason why we're in the place we are is because there hasn't been legitimate elections in Venezuela. So calling for elections just gives Maduro an opportunity to rig them once again. The Europeans need to step up here.
Well, John Bolton making it very clear in this announcement yesterday that all options are on the table. Morgan, this is something
Good.
Yeah, go ahead. Final thoughts.
No, I mean, good. All options should be on the table. This, again, is not even American-led. This is something that's led by the people of Venezuela, and it's something that is led by the region, and it's a very, very smart strategy by the administration to look at all options. It can't just be sanctions. You have to have every option on the table, no matter how hard they are, in order to ensure democracy and freedom thrive in a country that has been decimated by socialists, where people are starving in the streets.
Morgan Ortagus, thank you.
Fired up today.
All right. See you again back here soon in studio.
Thanks, Sandra.
Thank you.